This is the Team Objection Podcast for August 29th, 2023, episode 589. Here he is, the man, the myth, the legend, Sean Elters.
Well, that's so nice.
I have a question. Actually.
Oh, yeah.
I have a question.
Is it burning?
Yes. Who the fuck is this guy? I haven't seen him. I don't know who he is. It's been like 3 months. And also, why are you eating?
Are you kidding? Why am I not eating? I'm always eating. Have you not
That's my
been
point.
to our last 400 episodes?
I don't know who you are, so that's my bigger issue. But yeah, I ate right before. Chris saw I ate right before and finished my food before I came online like a professional.
I eat off and on all day, but I definitely save a certain dinner for the show.
Great. And it looks like you're eating pure sludge at the moment. So, all right, let's move on. Burning hot
It's
questions for
oatmeal.
the summer.
But delicious sludge. Doug says, "Oh wow." I'm assuming it's supposed to be done in that voice. I think the word "wow" is it's just
wow.
That's just.
Is that Waluigi or is that Owen Wilson? A combination
Owen
of
Wilson.
both.
Owen Wilson. Maybe he'll say it in Loki season 2. Who knows?
Wow.
Maybe he will play Waluigi in the next Mario movie.
That
That
sounds
one,
silly, and then you think about all the celebrities that were in the first one, you think, maybe.
I never even thought about Waluigi and Wario in the next Mario movie. I was too focused on Yoshi.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right.
Dave, I saw this thing that was like a sensory deprivation chamber, and so
I'm in.
like it's not like the water one. This is like it's like walls and everything that like really like completely wipes away sound, and apparently like you can hear your heartbeat loudly, and like your every joint groaning. And I don't know if this is real, but it illustrated the point. They were saying there's a $5,000 challenge if you can stay in this thing for an hour.
I've heard about that.
And I was like, where can I sign up to do this thing? It'd be the easiest thing in the world for me.
You say that, but like things get weird at that level that you've never experienced. And
I
you
know,
can
but
say
I
that
think,
you have the mental. You say you have the mental fortitude, but you truly have no basis of comparison here.
It's not even like mental fortitude. It's just like
It is.
well, like what's a good way to compare this? It's like if you ever, I wish I had a better example. Like a movie where like a character's getting tortured with like yeah, I don't know, bamboo shoots or
Casino
whatever.
Royale.
Well, no. You're gonna have to hear the rest
scene
of
from
it.
Grand Theft Auto 5.
There are some movies where like they're torturing somebody, but the person who is being tortured like loves the pain. Here's a great example. You all know this one, Dave. Full Metal Alchemist, when Kimberly is in like the souls and it's supposed to be like agony, but he's like, no, this is great. This is like what I was born for. I love this. That's how I would see this. So it's not fortitude. It just would be something I would enjoy. So I would trick the whole system. It'd be great. Joints groaning, I hear that all day anyway. That's nothing new for me. So sign me up. $5,000 to take a nap. They didn't say you have to be awake. You just like meditate.
I think you're severely underestimating the sensations you would feel.
It's 1
in
hour.
that environment. And
what do you mean
the
sensations? What's going to happen?
Your brain is used to a certain cadence, a certain rhythm, a certain sound, a certain constant background noise to the world. When that is taken away, your eyesight is taken away, your sound is taken, everything is taken away. Your mind won't know what to do with itself, and especially your crazy brain. So
my mind already doesn't know what to do with itself.
Exactly. So all of a sudden, now you remove all of the distractions from the world. Whew, you might be breaking down the door.
No way.
Within a minute, you would be sitting there, and it would have, you would be like, okay, it has to have been like 59 minutes. I just got to hang on for this one. Then you're losing your mind. In reality, it's been like 12 minutes, and you're like, oh my God, I'm not done yet.
Here's what I would say. If I can have somebody promise that once the hour is up, they're going to get me, then I'm fine. If they're like, you stay in as long as you can, and I don't know, like, when I've hit the hour or when it's been 5 minutes, like, that would start to get really tough.
It would, because, yeah, you're going to lose track of time real quickly in that environment.
It's the same thing with like something stupid, like when I hang from the trapeze bar. If I know, okay, like I'm almost at a minute, I can like hang for like a minute. If I don't know how long I'm there, I end up going for like 30 seconds just because it's like getting that goal really helps.
Yep. It's that mental fortitude again.
Interestingly, this has been kind of a trend on YouTube and or Twitch recently. They don't have the full-on sensory deprivation experience, but either Twitch streamers or their mods have been put in closets and expected to stay there for 2 or 3 days in pitch black with no phone. Not full sensory deprivation, but also much longer than an hour.
Yeah.
And none of them have done it.
I wouldn't want to do 2 to 3 days. That's crazy.
That's way too much. One of them was doing it to win a car, and one of them was doing it to not have their car be crushed at the dump, basically.
What a different level of wealth you must have to. I want to win a car. I have so much money that I could sign up that you could take my car.
Influencer culture is kind of a problem for that reason.
It is.
Backtrack. I thought it was just influencer doing a thing to do a thing. If it was for a new car, I could do 2 to 3 days in it. It's no problem. Sleep most of the thing.
Well,
do some push-ups.
It isn't unfettered because this is Twitch, and that would be boring. Like, the people in chat could do a flashbang type effect where all of a sudden went from darkness to really bright, and you never knew when it was going to happen. It was just whoever paid bits to do it. There were a lot of other loud noises could be played suddenly. It was a lot of things that would fuck with you beyond just sitting there in the quiet dark. And I think that was what eventually drove them insane, was because now you don't even know when it's coming. You can't breathe, you can't sleep, because that could wake you up. It was, again, young people with time and money on their hands doing funny things, and Lord knows our generation can't be too critical of that, but it is kind of funny that these things come full circle.
God, I feel like that would have long-lasting psychological damage at some point.
I mean, look, I'm telling you, there are things that I would not do. The race, we talked about getting shocked. Unless you're paying me money, I'm not ever doing that again. I don't feel the need to do that. So I'm not just sitting here saying, I didn't do anything. I feel like I could do this thing. And I know I say that having no bar to compare it to, but sign me up. Let's do it.
I feel like we have a reason to start a Twitch and rake in some dough.
I'm an influencer.
Let's torture Sean.
Put me in there for a weekend because I have a job, so I can't just take it off. But yeah,
Maisie,
no, that's not the same, you idiot.
I was gonna say, Maisie, you always think you're gonna get murdered. I don't think that counts.
Yeah, she thinks she's gonna get murdered in the house. She's just minding her own business, and someone walks downstairs and she jumps out of her fucking skin.
Yeah,
so...
it's true. That's
and
true.
Actually,
it doesn't exactly count.
As a point of comparison, I was absolutely fine in that deprivation chamber that we did where you're floating, except it just hurt my neck. That was the only. And they try to give you pillows because this is a known issue. And it just didn't help my neck. I think I have a huge head that just is fat, and I was it was just killing me.
You hear that, America? His brain is just so big, it's just so powerful that it just can't even.
Well, and you know what? You can have a huge brain, and I think it's about how you use it, much like something else.
But I have the same problem where if I know I have to be still for a while, I feel like I'm getting hurt quicker, especially my back. My back tightens up more when I think I can't shift or move in a way that relieves pressure. So I probably have the same problem in the tank where I'm floating, where it's if I can't get comfortable and I know I'm in there for the long haul, I'm going to be thinking about being uncomfortable the whole time.
Yeah, it's a true story.
Being in a vat of spiders, you'd have to probably pay me a lot of money to do that.
Yeah, I don't want to be buried alive. I'm not even super claustrophobic, but something about that experience I have no interest in. You have to pay me a ton of money to do it. Sitting in a closet is different to me than being buried alive.
Yeah.
Even if the idea of we're going to get you out, what if they didn't?
Yeah, what if?
And then all of a sudden,
what if they fall asleep? What if a murderer comes and takes them out? What if the containment breaks and all the sand rushes in? And I'm gonna have to sit there and do nothing but think about that for the whole time I'm down there? No, that doesn't work for me.
I think it depends how long are they. How far down are you? If you're a few feet, I'm probably okay. If you're 12 feet down and just covered in dirt, so there is nothing that I could hope to even do. I'm perfectly at the mercy of other people. Yeah, that would kind of suck.
Look, the scene in Kill Bill really messed with me, in a bad way, of thinking of being down there the way she was. Now, she got out, which in some way that wouldn't, yeah. No, that wouldn't work. I'm pretty sure that wouldn't work. Anyway, forget that. That scene, I barely could watch it. I was oh, no. See,
that doesn't bother me that much, that scene. So that's why I'm maybe I could be buried alive. But then I watched The Descent, where they're crawling so far under the earth in these little caves, and it's they have to squeeze through these tunnels, and any small shift in the earth for whatever reason, you're just absolutely fucking crushed. And people get stuck. and they can't get out for a while. And I don't even like. I'll go to the roller coasters, and I really like to be like cinched in there. But sometimes you do it really tight, and it clicks where your like diaphragm is compressed still, so I can't take full breaths anymore, and that sucks too. So
yeah, no, I'm not claustrophobic, but that that's bad.
Yep.
So why is the episode called Burning Questions? Good question.
Why do we
Until
spend
Sean
10
derailed
minutes
it,
talking about this?
you wouldn't know.
Yeah, but you have to remember, I'm used to you taking things from the intro into somewhere, and then eventually we just go back to where we were. Unless it's like the game show and we know we don't have time for that.
Yeah.
I'll usually allow these dalliances, because why not? Last week we brought...
Amazing.
Well, it's amazing, except it's so consistent that we're not surprised anymore. Last week we brought back an old segment, Time Capsule, and ran it for the first time in a while, and it was fun. And we're probably going to do some more of that going forward, even if it's smaller snippets, like when we brought back headlines, you know? They're not going to be weekly things, but we bring them back when the mood strikes. And this week I thought I'd bring back a different old segment, except with a twist, because I never really fully liked this old segment. It was a segment called Real Talk.
Yeah.
And Real Talk was designed to be hot takes, essentially. Say something incendiary, something controversial, and then people would react to it, we'd discuss it, and ultimately you'd be graded on the scale to which your take was hot. And it was fine. I'm not saying it was a bad segment. But instead, I want to use this as an opportunity to get real with our panelists, our fellow hosts, whatever you want to call them. I want to ask some tough life questions and get serious answers. Now,
that's scary.
They're not prepared for this, and I am. I have questions for myself, but I'm going to let you guys answer first some of the stuff I have. And if you come up with something from me, I'm happy to do that as well. So that's not just like, oh, well, he's lobbed softballs to himself. Although I got to be honest, I think the questions I have for myself are not softballs. But I'm willing to expose myself to the same unexpectedness that the two of you, or the three of you, when Cody gets here, because he is on his way, will be subjected to. They're not going to be super uncomfortable, and I'm not going to try and put you on the spot in a way where you have to reveal something on air that's going to ruin your career or something. But I do think we haven't had a chance to really talk about our lives recently. As much as I love the game shows, the tier lists, I think those are all a lot of fun. We haven't really talked about life recently, and I aim to fix that.
First question for Cody. Would you do a sensory deprivation check?
All right,
let's do it.
First question for Sean. How much do you hate your boss? Just let's get that out there right now.
You know what's funny?
Kidding.
I actually love my boss. Now, no, truly. I don't know if Chris has ever heard, but like, I love my boss. If we're talking about NAU, I hated my boss for a multitude of reasons that I have no problem sharing. Truly, this is the best boss I ever had. And honestly, my boss is so good now, she makes my old bosses even worse in comparison. Even worse than I thought was possible.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny how that works? Where you're just like, oh, this is what I could have had. It's like almost like when you start dating a girl after you had a horrible relationship. You're like, oh, you mean I'm not supposed to be miserable every day?
I also had that too. I had that same thing. But like, my boss is so great. I don't even think you meant this as a question, but I'm going to take it anyway.
I didn't. Sure. I know. I'm kind of mad at you.
When I talk to Maisie, we're like, okay, what would my boss do in this situation? To like help, and it's like it's really helpful to Maisie's situation. So she's great. I don't know. I have never revealed I'm on a podcast. I don't know, probably won't ever. Like, but if she happens to be listening to this,
you're awesome.
Yeah, she's great.
I can confirm you said both those things about both previous and current bosses. So that's not just a ruse or a bit or something to fulfill the hot take. So who wants to go first? I'm promising these aren't going to be that bad, but my goal is to have a couple for everybody, including myself, and then if other people have follow-ups or spin-offs, that's fine. We'll see how it goes.
I would have volunteered, but I already kind of took one.
And I'm physically closer to you. See, I'm right here, and Sean's all the way over there. So yeah.
What's nice is I now know in the back of my head, I just got to point this way. It's backwards for me, but it's front ways for them.
Yep.
All right. Dave. As much as you can answer this, again, without putting your job in jeopardy, I wanted to go with something more generic. You've been working in the finance world for a couple decades now, in various roles. Finance is kind of a really generic way to talk about it, but it's all things tangentially related. So, as you look back at your career to this point, if you were giving advice to somebody else, somebody rank and file, I know sometimes you work with fancier clients these days, but just rank and file regular Joes, What's the biggest financial mistake that you see people make? If you were giving somebody advice on how to correct their finances, whether that's long-term planning, short-term stuff, what do you see people screwing up in their lives that they should be doing a better job at?
Funny thing is, they think that they can predict everything. That's kind of goes for life as well. But like everyone like thinks they know exactly. Okay, I'm gonna plan this, and I'm gonna make sure I have this much sort of here, and I'm gonna have this much here, and I'm gonna make sure that the biggest thing they do is not plan for the unexpected, which is nuts. Like, you don't know when your air conditioning is going to break, do you? Maybe you need to plan for that. You know, you don't know what that's going to happen. So you have to be able to constantly reevaluate, constantly have an idea of what you may not know about. And if you think you can plan 3 years in advance, you can have a general outline. To do it to the dollar, it's going to be a tough thing to do.
I have an answer for this question. Does it work like that? Are we allowed to?
Sure, but before you do, flip the fan on, and I'm going to bring Cody on. There he is. He's here.
It's a
Cody,
in a second.
Would you do a sensory deprivation chamber completely black and you like can't hear anything for $5,000?
Like Aaron Rodgers?
I don't know what he did, but
that sounds like a thing you
there's some kind of challenge where people are going crazy. They can't spend an hour in the chamber without like losing their mind, and they have to bail.
For how long?
For an hour.
I get $5,000 to sit in a dark room for an hour.
That's what I'm saying. But apparently,
no bed? There's no bed, right? Because I'll just fall asleep.
It really.
No, there's nothing.
David keeps saying, and I've read this too. It like really fucks with you. You like your brain starts doing these weird things. I'm like,
fuck with me all you want. Give me my $5,000 for 1 hour.
No, man, after my own heart.
You have no idea how much I like money.
I know, I get that, but here's the problem. It's not that people are fucking with you. It's that you hear your own blood coursing through your veins at that point. You've never experienced that.
Awesome. It's awesome. It's great. I'll get used to it for $5,000.
I'll do it for free.
See, if you told me 24 hours, I'd be like, ugh, shit, that might be too long. 1 hour? I need to get away from my phone for 1 hour.
So
that's great.
Cody, they were talking about being in a closet for 2 days. And I was like, no fucking way I would do that. And like, for a new car. I was like, sign me up. Let's do it. New car.
All I'm doing, 2 days is a long time, but all I'm doing sitting there is like, what kind of car?
It better be 30? Like not a Ford Pinto. It better be a fucking nice-ish car.
Like if you're talking that I'm going to get like a $40,000 car and I'm like $40,000, my brain is telling me $40,000 the whole time I'm in there. Not my blood. It says money. So much money for doing nothing. Literally doing nothing.
That's why we watch the challenge and people are jumping off a pier and they're like, I can't do it. It's like for $1 million and 15 feet in the air. Anyways, I'm sorry. So to answer your question, to get back to the point, not like investing. So either not doing anything with their money that they have saved, and kind of along with that, not putting enough away for retirement. So like ideally you're doing like, well, ideally the more the better, but you want to get like 17%, or at least that was the rule of thumb
doing any of this.
a while ago, and it's hard to do, but like if you're at 12% and you can supplement and get it up to like 15-16%, like that's what I see a lot of people not doing. And when they can, I have excess money, I'm just putting in savings. And it's like, well, no, if you have the opportunity, do a Roth IRA or a regular IRA, or a little bit of both. Actually, would even be the better way to do that, along with retirement. That's what I see a lot of.
The problem is you're absolutely right, and yet so few people even have excess money to do that with that I'm not sure how well the advice goes over.
Well,
because you're right, but
that's
I mean,
part of it. It's like if you have the money.
You see those surveys that are like, how many people don't even have $500 set aside for a rainy day? And the answer is like 60% of Americans or something. It's like, oh shit.
Yeah. No, that was the catch. It's like they have the money, but they're not doing anything with it.
Yeah. Because we're doing burning questions, and they're basically, I'm asking tough questions to inspire some real talk. And David was already subjected to one.
And I answered one, and you kind of answered one.
Right.
So now
sensory deprivation, not quite what I was going for in this one, but it has been a question that is clearly burning for at least someone.
So if you have one for Cody, now is a great way to like
break the ice, right?
To force me in here. Okay.
Yeah, and it's gonna be one you're comfortable with. That's what's nice about this is I cater these to everybody individually. I'm not asking you about something you don't know anything about.
My goal is to answer everyone's question.
Okay, you're gonna have a hard time with this one, but let's go. Baseball's rule changes have been controversial, to say the least. Yeah, I told you were not going to like this. But we're, 4 months into the season now, almost 5. And you're someone who is both steeped in Twitter and Reddit trolling, but also traditional baseball like stats and metrics and looking at the sport holistically. So as someone who's trying to be as unbiased as you can, and then you can also talk about your own bias, have the rule changes made baseball better, or are they too much of a distraction to warrant mentioning?
Nah, it's so much better. It's unfortunately so much better. I think I wanted to hate it like really, really badly. But now that my fiance can actually watch a baseball game because shit's happening and doesn't like tune it out and get really, really bored, and she has no interest in baseball, I watched her start to care a little bit because it's actually more engaging. And I'm like, shit, I have a feeling this is probably way more engaging for a lot of people. I haven't gone to a game in person this year, unfortunately. And I think when I go in person, I'll get bummed out that the game whizzes by that quickly. It's like 2 hours long. I actually like being at the park for however long and go get food and be around it. But for like television viewing, when I have the game on and I don't feel like I spent 3.5 hours of my day, it's like 2.5 hours of my day keeping track of the game. It's so much better. And I think early on in this season, there was so much like base stealing was out of control and pitchers hadn't gotten used to it. And it took a little bit. And there's still a couple guys who are stealing like fucking crazy. And I think it messes up with the numbers a little bit. In fact, the NL MVP race is kind of messed up because of the new rule changes.
Because of Acuna basically going to be the first 30-60 guy.
Exactly. And it's like, well, he's going to achieve this. Shouldn't he be the MVP by default? And I'm like, well, not really, because the rules aren't the same. So his numbers don't mean the same thing they would have 1 year ago. But I think when you look at it like overall, it is going to help the sport. And MLB keeps bragging that its attendance is as high as it's ever been. And, you know, a couple times I'm like, okay, it's bullshit because you're tricking the stats because like Father's Day weekend or Mother's Day weekend, whichever one it was like, well, the attendance was as high as it's ever been in a game. And I'm like, well, the Dodgers and the Yankees and the Mets and all these teams were at home that weekend. So you rigged it a little bit to make sure the numbers were up. But over and over again, I keep seeing them saying numbers are high for basically everyone except for the Oakland A's. So I think it works. I think there's some fine tuning you can do, but honestly, I got so far past the traditionalist thing as soon as we moved the DH into being in the National League and we made all these changes during COVID, and you kind of just deal with it at this point. It's really not that bad. Sean would enjoy baseball a lot more now than he would have.
I have some issues with baseball, and I always have, but I gave up on baseball. It's like, I'm done. When I think there was a pitcher who was taking, fucking a minute between each pitch and kept throwing to first.
Yeah,
he did it
probably Mark Burley
3 times in a row. But every time I had the same warm up, the same. And I was like, I'm done. And I turned it off, and I never went back.
I don't blame you. And you know what's fucking hilarious is, where that was also really fucking agitating was playing a fucking baseball video game. If you had a fast player and you were on first base, the fucking computer would throw over at you over and fucking over again. I'm like, cool. I spent 10 minutes of my life automatically diving back to first base because that's what I fucking have to do to play this game.
Yep.
It's not because they can only throw over twice. Guys are using it strategically. They're not throwing over twice and getting easily stolen on. Some guys are just still not fast enough to actually steal. I don't think the teams have been aggressive enough, honestly, in exploiting this, but it hasn't been the disaster I worried it might be. And I definitely was wrong at the start of the year.
So if you can only pitch over twice and you pitch over twice, are you then primed for stealing after that?
If you throw over a third time, you have to get the guy out. And if you don't get him out, he automatically moves up a base on a balk.
Nice.
Yep.
That'd be fun.
So how do they prevent you from just taking a lead to halfway to second base?
They don't,
because they would throw over and they would get you out. You still have to time it right.
So it's not free, but it is.
It's close.
You're
you
encouraged
can do the
to
third
get that
time.
extra step.
Yes, you should. You will take the extra step and all that, and you should go ahead and get a bigger lead. But if he does throw off because you're halfway there, they're going to get you in a rundown and they're going to get you out, and you're not going to get the free base. So I thought the same thing you did. I'm like, well, fuck, they're going to throw over twice, and this is going to become a disaster. And only like 2 or 3 teams really basically were running nonstop. And honestly, they were the shitty teams who were like, we don't have anything to lose. Let's run nonstop. And then all of them like backed off on it as the year went on. The Pirates were doing this earlier in the year when they were winning. And then they stopped running as much and they fucking suck again. And I'm like, well, maybe if you have nothing to lose, just run nonstop.
And it turns out that as boring as pickoffs are, getting somebody caught in pickles or throwing, the catcher throwing a second for a close play, whether they make it or not, is the same reason people love balls in play, because it's exciting. Stuff's happening. Yeah. There's movement. It's kinetic. And it's not just somebody standing and then scratching themselves 57 times and throwing to first.
And I had to watch Noah Syndergaard for half of a season, who was so slow to the plate and throws 85 miles an hour and can't pick anybody off. So I watched teams steal endlessly every time he pitched, and it was fucking annoying. But you're like, well, you know what? Get fucked, because you just can't learn how to throw over better, or you can't get him out. That's your problem. It's part of the game now. And so I think as it goes on, I imagine it'll only just get built up more. They'll start teaching pitchers to throw over better. Catchers trying to catch guys stealing, they'll work on shit like this that they never really worked on before, because stolen bases had basically disappeared after the guys used to steal 100 bases a season, and it became like 30. I think was like the highest guy for the most part.
Okay, it's my turn.
All right.
About baseball, right?
Yeah, another baseball question.
Sean,
Yay.
just got back from Hawaii.
Okay.
It's the second time you've been.
Yes.
Didn't go to Maui like you had planned because
No, it was on fire.
some things happened.
Yeah.
So even though you weren't on Maui proper, because even though most of Maui's recovered, Lahaina's still kind of fucked. When you were there, did you experience any uncomfortableness? Obviously, people are used to tourists in Hawaii in general. It's part of the economy, a massive part of the economy and the culture even at this point. But was there any lingering weirdness on the other islands that you went to from the wildfires, or was it enough past that people had moved on? Like, what did you see when you were there?
Yeah, not at all. We didn't see anything like that. The weirdest thing we encountered was like reading articles about some people being like, tourists are swimming in these same waters where like our families died in. And I was like, that's harsh. And I get it. I'm not going to say whatever. You're going through a lot, right? I didn't quite see it like that. Especially because we didn't go to Maui. And that was part of the reason we didn't go. We thought by the time we learned about the fire, it would probably be done by the time we were there. But we're like, to be around these people when you could actually, we debated this, like you could say like, well, now they need tourist dollars like more than ever to like help the economy. And that was valid. But I was like, it was so close after. We just thought, let's not deal with it. Let's, as much as we matter just being 4 people, let's like not contribute to this. Let's give everyone their time and we'll go somewhere else. We were expecting like huge delays at the airport with people like kind of either being diverted or evacuating or like kind of what we did, planning to go to Maui and then having to go somewhere else. Nothing that I could tell was like a difference. It was like, it was super smooth and it was great. And not even real other than like offering like prayers and opportunities to like donate on like certain purchases, you can round up and it goes to the fires. Like, great, awesome. We didn't get anything like that. So, which I feel is a boring answer, but it was just I was surprised.
It was boring.
We were ready for whatever, and nothing happened.
In my head, Sean, you said you didn't say we. I thought you said we had the opportunity. We didn't do anything like that. We didn't give.
I wasn't going to round
no,
up.
I'm not going to fucking give them my money.
Round up 17 cents. I mean,
nuts.
come on.
Do you know how hard I work for that money? Are they working for my? No. I mean, yeah, it was
I
great.
have a Roth IRA. I had a regular IRA. Come on.
Yeah.
I know what these things are.
Yeah,
like,
it was
where I am.
great to contribute. The only thing I'll say about Hawaii is because I think people like, here's my vacation. Who cares? No one cares about that. It's boring. But if you ever go to Hawaii, you have to try this thing called it's the like classic Hawaiian shaved ice, I guess. Maybe it's just specific to this one location. But Cody, you'll like this. They take shaved ice with like the flavors and stuff, which I'm sure you've had before, right? This is where you confirm. Yes, I have.
I'm nodding at you.
Okay.
Well, it's a podcast, but sure.
Yeah.
But then they put ice cream on the bottom. This like
it's
really
called Bahama Bucks.
Rich,
They're in Phoenix.
Just wait.
There's
Rich
3 of them in Phoenix,
macadamia
actually.
nut ice
4, I
cream on the
think.
bottom, and then they put this like cream on the top.
Yeah.
So there's cream on the top, shaved ice in the middle, ice cream on the bottom.
Yeah,
It was the best thing I
Bahama
had
Bucks.
in my entire time in Hawaii.
Right, Dave? Bahama Bucks.
Bahama Bucks. You can actually pick whatever flavor you want to flavor
There's
the
like
ice
100.
with
It's
as
great.
well.
Well,
Yeah, you can mix them. It's great.
You could do different flavors of ice cream, but I got the pina colada. So it was like pina colada, shaved ice flavoring with like a certain kind of cream and the macadamia.
To not be an asshole and confirm that, yes, that sounds delicious, and why I knew right immediately that Bahama Bucks was the place in the
Exactly what I thought
continental
of.
United States that sells that, because it's basically ripped off from authentically Hawaiian stuff. It's probably better in Hawaii,
Oh yeah.
It was really,
I'm sure.
really good.
but if
I've
you
never
want like
had.
75% of it when you're in Phoenix, go to Bahama
I'm
Bucks.
glad I brought it up because now I have a place to go to. Because I
I
went
wanted
back.
to go there when we've been down in Phoenix, but we haven't had one close enough by.
Yeah,
Amazing.
I get a 40 ouncer, which is like huge.
Yeah, makes sense.
That's
so
too
good.
much.
No,
Yeah,
it's
that
not.
makes sense.
Oh my god.
No, I got a
That's
40
so
ouncer.
much.
It was done. I was like, should I do one more 40?
But of the 40, how
And-
much was it ice cream and how much was it just like water ice that had flavoring?
So what's great is that when you get to the bottom, it's like the whole cup is basically like a slushy ice cream, shaved ice
It's watered down
mix,
ice
and
cream.
it's great. It's not like watered down though. It's like
It's
it's
watered
a
down ice
creamy, wonderful. Yeah, it's great. It's amazing. It's great.
He finally agreed with.
Well, you got to
broke
eat
down
it
that
fast
he agreed
enough.
with you.
If you don't eat it fast enough, then yeah, it's like it's.
Well, when you get a 40 ounce and it's hot out, I don't know if you're going to be able to eat it fast enough without getting brain freeze.
Watch me.
Okay, now we need to go to Bahama Bucks when we're in Phoenix.
Yeah.
and
Okay.
whenever-
That's right. That's on the
whenever-
list.
Whenever I get Bahama Bucks, I get like the small one because I can't even finish that because they pack that
Yeah.
stuff in.
It's because
Exactly.
you're a bitch, is why. Fucking 28 ounce. You gotta get a
I'm outta
40
here.
ounce.
Yes.
Good.
First person POV.
Okay, so that was my question. So Dave, you're up again.
Peter says you guys missed out on an epically lame hurricane. Yeah, for all the threats about the hurricane hitting California too. You don't get hurricanes in California. It didn't do a ton.
Poor
We got a little
Mexico.
bit of rain here, like for an hour.
We were supposed to get rain almost every day here. It's like, oh, the after effects of this hurricane, or like the side effect, it's all coming. And it didn't. Just regular monsoon stuff at best. So, which is
Nice.
probably for the best. I don't know if California needs hurricanes on top of all the wildfires they've had in the last couple of years, but regardless.
So Cody and Dave, do you have a question for Chris? I do not.
If you don't, I'll ask myself one.
Do you think I came prepared for this?
I wasn't
Nobody
prepared
did.
either.
No. The burning question is, all of us are pushing 40. So
No, I'm not.
how do you
Not
feel
pushing
about the fact
40.
that you're pushing 40?
Not
Well,
pushing
me and
40.
Chris are.
I'm fucking
me and
33.
Chris are
If
pushing
being
40.
4 years away now is pushing something, I'm in trouble.
Yeah, but if you round up,
Me and
you're
Chris-
40. I'm the
Yeah.
only one. If you
Me
don't
and
round up,
22
I'm not
months.
40.
And you're not 4 years away. You're 3 years and a month and a half.
It's like 4 years.
No, you're 40. You're all 40, and I'm not 40. So
Yeah, but
congratulations.
I've told the story when I was like, when Dave was 35, he's like, just wait, when you hit 35, your life's gonna go downhill. You might as well kill
I never
yourself.
said that.
I was
I
like,
never said that.
it wasn't that bad when I
And then
got to
Sean looked at you and
35.
was like, "I don't have kids though, so I don't have to worry
I
about
never
that."
said
That's that's probably a big.
And that's a big.
I'm
It probably
able-
ages you a hell of a lot quicker.
Yeah.
Sean
Yeah.
will round up his age to how far away he is from 40, but not to the nearest dollar for Hawaii wildfire
Yeah,
recovery.
exactly. 17 cents? Do you know what I can do with 17 cents?
Well, two of us are hurtling towards 40.
Yeah.
Yep.
So maybe you guys can answer. I don't have anything to do with this question.
Hence, Sean, why the question was for Chris.
Oh,
and not
great.
You.
Well,
said all of us.
introduced
Sean
it-
was
No.
going to try and answer all the questions,
Yeah.
regardless if it had
You-
anything to do with him at all.
You introduced it badly, but continue.
All of us involved in this question.
Pushing 40. Go ahead.
It's started to enter my thoughts a bit. It's a year and a half out. You know, September 11th, weirdly enough, is my half birthday. So it's just a little over a year and a half. And there are a few things about my life that I think are going to not change at all. And there's a couple of things that I think, at least the way I view myself, is going to. Because it's easy to say when you're in your 30s and not when you're in your 40s, even though that difference is literally just a day on both sides when you get down to the nitty gritty. One thing I've been trying to do recently, and this will tie into another question I have for myself later potentially, is I got Bumble. Remember way back when we made a dating profile for me, like live in an episode, and then it was
Mhm.
Michelle's account that had access to it, so I could never follow up on
Yeah,
whatever
Michelle
that
fucked
got.
that one up, though.
Whatever
Yeah,
it got,
she
if
totally-
anything. Maybe no one even liked it at all in the first place. I have no idea. I don't know if it was teaming with likes or zero because I had no access to it.
And
So
if I remember
eventually-
right, she had you only searching for bi females in
Yeah,
Flagstaff.
That's
that
what-
was
she
also
fucked it up.
The
She
first
fucked
couple
it up.
results I got were like, well, that's not. Somebody was like way out of my age range, and somebody was. It's just yeah.
It was bad.
It was a fun episode though, because like, the dating profile part of it worked. It just didn't didn't lead to any other content because there was no follow-ups.
Nothing.
But I signed up for Bumble because I'm like, well, maybe this is a chance for me to meet some people in what limited time I have because of a few things that changed at work. At least I can consider it because most of the time weeknights were just out in the old system. And now there's a couple nights a week where I can make it work. So that was part of it. Part of it was like, I'm about to hit 40. And when I hit 40, to me, it feels like it's going to be different dating somebody who's, say, 33, even though it's not any different than it would be if I was 39 dating somebody who was 33. I'm talking with someone in the room who's dating somebody with a 9-year difference. So, like, it doesn't really matter, but in my head, it makes a difference because now I'm a man in my 40s. I can't be dating women in their 30s. It's like, well, you can, but it was still kind of an impetus to do it.
And the funny thing is, like, after a certain point, depending on who the person was, you could be 40 and dating a 28-year-old, and it could work.
Could be fine.
It's a lot. It could be fine.
According to
It's not-
Dave, you could be
it's-
50 dating a 19-year-old.
I mean, legally, yeah. I wouldn't recommend it, but legally, sure.
But the gap matters less as you get older for a couple different
Yes.
reasons. One, you're all hurtling towards death. But two, if somebody's 20 years younger than me and I'm 60, it's not that weird anymore. If somebody's 40, it's maybe a pinch weird, but whatever. Like, people live your life, be happy. If I'm 35 and I'm dating somebody 20 years younger than me, now all of a sudden we have problems. So
Now all of a sudden you're getting calls from Chris Harris and being like, "Why don't you have a seat over
good
here?"
old Chris Harris. That's right.
Harrison.
That's right.
I don't remember.
Chris Hansen, but I get the reference.
Hansen,
yes.
damn it.
Okay, we're going back to Dave.
Well, Dave didn't answer about being 40.
Oh,
I have to answer that too?
Well, that's how it works.
Oh,
I'm not
it's
going to
cool.
answer. I'm
Great.
not anywhere close to 40.
It's funny.
I'm not going to answer the question I'm interjecting about.
I freaked out way more about 30 than I am going to be 40. It's like, whatever. I'm fine. Like, it's fine. It's all good. That's how I feel about 40 at this point. It's a number. So, whatever.
Dave's already dead. What does it matter?
Pretty
basically?
much. I'm
Yeah,
getting
his soul
tired.
died
You see these
already.
eyes?
Yeah.
See
What
these
do you
eyes?
think, Cody?
No
You're
way.
hurtling towards 35.
I'm 33 right now.
Yeah.
See, like I turned 30 and then COVID happened like 2 months or 2 weeks later. So I didn't have time to freak out about having been 30 because the world was basically ending at that time. So I didn't go through the, oh shit, I'm hitting this like big cutoff number. I don't know what the hell I'm going to feel like when I'm 40. But at that point, I'll probably be married. Oh, I will be married. I hope.
Hopefully nothing goes wrong.
Probably it would be really bad if I
long
wasn't.
engagement.
There's a few different ways
And-
that could go really badly.
And I will probably have a child or two at that point is my assumption, unfortunately. So I check back in with me in like 2 years, and I'll tell you how
I
much.
think you were my childless buddy, and now you're saying
that's not going to happen.
you just gave shit to Dave for having kids.
Yeah, but I don't have any yet. I can do whatever I want.
But you're going to join him soon.
Yeah, and then I'll
Sounds
just
like-
talk about how much my kids suck, and I will be very open about that.
All right,
It's fine.
okay, that's fair.
I will not be a loving father like Dave is. I'll be a terrible father. It's fine.
It's the funny, the best thing is kids totally suck, but they're totally awesome at the same time. That's the weird dichotomy.
Yeah,
of it.
well, if my
They
kids are good at
suck.
sports, they'll be awesome. If they're not good at sports, then what use are they?
Kick them to the
Right, right,
curb.
Yeah, just absolutely excommunicated.
Exactly.
Yes, absolutely.
Interestingly, that ties into my next question for Dave.
Wow.
Great job accidentally segueing. Dave, you've been a parent for going on a decade, although Sean would say that you've been a parent for nowhere near a decade.
Or he's been a parent for his whole life, pretty much, because he's
I mean,
so
I've been-
boring.
I've been making sure to, guide you for the last 10 years,
There you
12
go.
years of this show.
Yes.
So,
Yep.
So given your wealth of experience, whether it's a few years or your whole life, depending on whose metrics you're using, what is something that you've learned that you had no idea about when you started becoming a parent for the first time?
Dave's almost 45.
Give yourself look back on give yourself an honest assessment about something that you were lacking in that you've at least improved upon or learned about more since that time now going on 8 years ago?
well, I mean, Caitlin's gonna be 10 in next year, so pretty soon. And she's
So,
9 and a
yeah.
half, so
Yeah.
almost 10. Yeah. Which is funny because I remember we had an episode of the show that I called in saying, "Hey, I have a daughter now." That's how long this show's been going on.
Mm-hmm.
Hurry up with your answer. What is this vamping? Jesus
Sean
Christ.
doesn't care about this answer because he has no answer for it.
No, I
so-
care. But I want to get to it eventually.
Sean wants you to hurry up and
Uh,
answer so then I can answer, and then he can jump onto my question.
Yes.
God, what something that I never expected. You just. It sounds like my last answer. It's so you can't always control the situation. You can just try to guide as best you can. I know there are people out there that look at parents whose kid is crying in the restaurant, and if the parent is just ignoring them, there's a problem with that. But most time, I get it. Like I hear a kid crying, I'm like, kids cry. That happens. But as long as you're attentive to the slightest degree, that's usually mostly what you need. So it's harder and easier at the same time. And I thought kids would be harder in the beginning and get easier as they go on, but it just changes how everything is. Because nowadays you got to deal with, now that my kid's older and in school and has friends and is doing activities and stuff, it's like, oh, what are the kids talking about and what are they learning from each other? And how do I have to combat, negative information that comes from bullies or whatever? I never expected it to change that way going forward throughout life.
Just imagining, Jimmy said the Holocaust never happened. Well, sit down, Caitlin.
Actually-
We have some.
In some ways, though, it's easier than I think my parents had it because a lot of kids communicate through messaging or, they have kids Facebook Messenger. They have, some have iPads and stuff that they can message each other on. Well, guess what? I can see that. So I can see what they're talking about versus when we were kids, our parents had no idea what we talked about. So
if there's a kid that's problematic, you shouldn't invite him to a park under the guise of your son and beat the shit out of him. Just jump him in the middle of the park. Come on.
I cannot see any way. Can't see any way that would go poorly.
Have
You're
a
right.
little fun. Jesus.
Of course. Of course. I agree. It cannot and will not go poorly in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, Peter says, or monitoring their internet time or what their friends tell them about what they learned on the internet. Yeah, I mean, that's an added wrinkle. But again, in some ways, it's revelatory. And sure, it can be an extra burden. But in some ways, it's also probably easier, Dave, for you to connect with your kids because you're always going to have a way to be plugged in. Whereas, my mom didn't have the first damn clue what interests I had in 5th grade.
It's fun, too, because if I ever learn new slang, new games that they play, I can go research it very easily and figure it out. And not to mention, I feel like I'm relatively plugged in with the new, whatever topic of the day is. So it really helps that.
Do your kids say no cap?
No.
Do they talk
No.
about
For real?
the Riz?
See, you are past that. No cap is already gone, man.
No, it's not. I see no cap all the time. What's new? Tell me what's
Yeah,
new.
but you're old, so why are you seeing it from?
I'm
other old people?
Dude, I'm supposed to be so tied in, like social media. Even though I don't have one for work. I have like burner accounts basically, just so when my boss is like, check out this link, I'm like, I don't want to.
It's
but
how your
I
wife
will.
talks. That's why you have to know.
No, she's off too.
No.
She's only on
Maisie's
like
with
Reddit.
it. Maisie's not with it.
She's pretty with it. She speaks Spanish.
Kind of.
It's on Duolingo.
Hello, fellow children. Yes. Cody.
AKA Sean, also, yeah.
Yeah.
No, he's not
I'll
going to
do
like this
my
one
best.
either.
There's
Not
more
going to like
sports.
this one either. Kind of.
Sweet.
You're far enough removed from your last job that I feel like I can ask you this, and I
Sure.
would expect an honest answer. I wouldn't ask you if I didn't think I could get one. We're a couple years now into NIL, and for those who aren't familiar, that's name, image, and likeness. It's basically a way for college athletes to maybe kind of monetize the fact that they're not just glorified cash cows for some of the bigger universities out there with athletic programs that rival professional ones, Alabama football. So a couple years into this experience, do you think NIL is addressing any of those core needs that student athletes should be having? Or should we just blow up the entirety of college sports because all of it's a sham?
All of it's a sham. Like, very simply. Like, I mean, if the idea of college sports at like the lower level, like we have in Flagstaff and smaller cities and stuff like that, hey, it works pretty well. Like, you get kids in who wouldn't have gone to college or wouldn't have gone to college here or things like that. They play the sports, and you're not monetizing it. We're not making a ton of money, and it's fine. The fact that like Alabama football is going to have boosters, and like BYU, I think has been pretty successful in doing this too, where you're just like, all right, here's like $50,000, and you're just going to come here, and you can hide it behind whatever nonsense thing we call it, or all the fake ways that you can do it, which is great because the government's finally stepping in and realizing that all the collectives are tax fraud. Like every single one of them are like just cheating the system, and they're not really nonprofits. It's straight up a front for how the team works. They let it go, and they just let it start, and it needed to be done because you can't be making the coach of Ohio State can't be making like $15 million while they're on TV and the university's making millions and millions of dollars. I mean, this is why the conferences are changing. They're getting $30 million a year from ESPN for these kids to play football specifically.
Each school.
Yeah, each school's getting $30 million, and these kids are playing football, and then they're coming away from football like 80% of them messed up because their knees are getting blown out or they're getting concussions or whatever. So it's good that some of them are going to get money, but are the offensive linemen who are getting their ass kicked on a regular basis, are any of them getting money at any of the schools? No. It's the same guys who would have, are going to get money anyways in the NFL are just getting it sooner. So you didn't do any laws, you didn't do any rules, you didn't balance this out in any way where it's like distributed to the rest of the team. And some of the players, I think at the bigger schools, when they're getting like $1 million, like Caleb Williams, I believe he's kicking money over to some of his teammates because, well, I don't know, those 5 guys in front of him are going to help him make $100 million in the NFL one day when he's the number 1 overall pick. So it didn't really fix anything. It just put money into the pockets of the people who were probably going to get money anyway. And all the other athletes, especially like international athletes, I still can't even do any of this, which there's a lot of international athletes if you pay attention to college sports. So it's so crappy and so half-assed done. It's not solving any problem we actually had. It's just getting money to guys sooner, and then you think that like, oh, it's going to solve recruiting problems, and it's not solving recruiting problems. It's just creating new ones.
I feel like they try to solve the problem like the wrong way, and I can see like why it was appealing, but just be like, you know what, just give all the excess money to the students too. Like whatever, that's easy. And that maybe wasn't the best way.
I laughed because in my previous job, we had a way of getting, we had this whole system that the conference set up that we would put photos in and give them access to photos that then they could use for advertising and this and that. I'm like, why are all you adults creating like 18 different NIL businesses that you now profit off of yourselves off the athletes? We had to create all these companies to come in to help do all this work just so they could then make money themselves. Like, it was just a grift for people to find ways to get money and still make money off of athletes, rather than actually just being like, here's a way to do it. Each university should hire a person or two in their athletic department that just takes care of this shit, and they're paid by the university, and we can help organize it. It's just like, oh, the athletes have to do it on their own, so now the conference will come in and, now the conference is going to have to pay this, this company money, and you have to, put all this work in. I'm like, bluntly, I don't care. Why do I have to do any work to help the athletes make money? It's not my job. That's not what I'm paid to do. So like they tried to like guilt trip a bunch of people to help the process. The people who are already overworked then got more work thrown on them. Well, again, most of those smaller schools the athletes aren't making money anyway.
I would say it's a scam, but I also feel like college is a scam.
Oh, it is. I mean,
so
again, there's no real
scam.
good answer to how to fix this problem, but the current system surely isn't working, and the previous system wasn't working. So we're just going to keep going, iterations of this.
You can't go back to the way they were. I mean, the whole idea was, hey, guess what? If the quarterback wants to go advertise himself from a car dealership, great, he can get paid for it, which I completely agree with. The idea that they couldn't benefit off their own image was bonkers to me. Like any other person at school could do that. Just the athlete couldn't.
Yes. If you were just famous on Instagram or TikTok because you made funny videos and you were at a university, you could go be in commercials, but the athlete can't. Like, what the fuck is that? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it made no sense. But then what they did immediately, instead of being like, hey, you want to go advertise for this pizza place? Go ahead. They said, well, we're just going to have these coalitions where instead of paying someone to do an advertisement, we'll just literally pay you.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, hold on. That defeated the purpose because you wanted to maintain that at least air of amateurism. Well, meanwhile, you just plowed right through that and it doesn't exist anymore.
And we'll eventually, football is the biggest problem because that's the biggest money maker and stuff like that. And we'll eventually have those 50, 60 schools break off, do their own thing, have their own rules. And the NCAA will come back in and be like, yeah, maybe all your basketball players shouldn't just sign like contracts basically when like, oh, if you come to Alabama for basketball, we promise you this local company who also happens to be a big booster will put you in commercials for the car company. It's like, well, that's all shady. But like, again, part of the issue was like, I think Harbaugh's in trouble with it in Michigan for like his infractions and why he's suspended for 3 games is kind of bullshit. Like you fed a kid some money on visits. Like, oh my God, you bought him like a hamburger. Like, what's the big deal? Like the fact that the NCAA still is policing shit like that, where it's like, calm down. Maybe I've watched kids that sometimes they don't eat actually as well as you would hope they would while they're in football practice, burning thousands of calories over and over again. You bought a recruit lunch because he's a poor high school kid, which a lot of them are. Oh my God, you took him out to lunch. What's the big fucking deal? And like, you can just, there's a middle ground between the $5 hamburger is okay and the $1 million fake car commercial contract is not okay. There's some middle ground that can be done, but the NCAA doesn't give a shit, so they're not going to worry about it.
Okay, it's my turn now. Bored now. My turn.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
No, it's interesting, actually.
No, it's fine. Let's Sean
It's
go.
cool that they
I'm going to hop in on Sean's question.
Okay, that's fair.
This one will be relevant to everyone.
Oh, hey.
So it's unfair to Sean, I guess.
No,
but
I don't give a shit.
Sean, you're approaching 40. So is Cody when you think about it. He's just further off.
We all are.
You have been gaming for the better part of 30 plus years at this point. And like everything else in life, sometimes tastes change, likes change, the things that you're interested in, that can all change over time. So at this particular juncture in your life, what is it that you're looking for in a video game that makes it work for you? Or conversely, what's like an instant miss? What is something that a game can do where you're like, maybe you don't just stop playing it outright because of it, but you're like, oh, I don't like when I see this show up. what about your tastes have changed in gaming specifically? You can spin this into like movies or TV as well, but like you play enough games at this point where it's like, what about gaming is what clicks for you, and what about it are you like, I'm so sick of seeing this shit, get it out of here?
God, that's really the less I know about a question, sometimes it's almost easier to answer. I know so much about this topic that it's almost hard to narrow it down, because I think more than ever before, a game really has to grab me, and I won't do like mediocre experiences anymore. So I want to say like story, but like Hades, I love Hades, and there is a story with Hades, and it's interesting, but like it's the gameplay is so tight, and it's really, really, and it's really fun. So I think it has to be this perfect marriage, and it usually has to deal with some sort of like progression. So like the systems all have to speak to each other. It has to be a good story supplemented by mechanics of like customization that really get my brain going, you know? And that's like what grabs me. So as a great example, I've been so excited for Baldur's Gate 3, like to no end. And I get it on the PlayStation in a couple days. I was so excited that I played Divinity 2. And it's good. It's a little bit flawed, but it's fun. But that has like the systems, the deep customization, the story, and the exploration, all these things that I like. And I compare it to Final Fantasy 16, which is a good game, but I find myself so disappointed because while the story is pretty good, I just like am bored a lot. There's no customization. The leveling system is whack. The combat, for the most part, is a little flat until like just now. I mean, like in the last quarter, it's finally sort of exciting. And it's like, this just doesn't work for me. I don't want this direction anymore. So I am a lot more critical of things like that than I used to be. But like Last of Us 2, not really. There's not really any customization in that. It's just a really good story. So whatever it is has to grab me and like make me excited to play, or I just don't care anymore. But what that is can be a few different things. It just has to be, I don't know, exceptional, whether it's the mechanics or the story. And I'm done. What, is that funny that I...
You better be the fucking good game, or I'm not going to waste my fucking time.
I mean, but...
Your explanation was, it has to be perfect or it sucks. Like,
that's not true at all. But I think a better way to put it is I have dealt a lot when I had more time with so many mediocre experiences, and I don't do that anymore. It has to be really good, and it goes with like reviews. That's why I care about them. And it has to grab me in a certain way, or I can't do it anymore. So it's funny to say, like, if it's not perfect, I fucking hate it. No, I'm a little more discerning now. I don't have the time anymore.
He's too busy to waste his time on bullshit.
Yeah,
which is funny.
Yeah, you play like 3 games a year, and it's mostly sports games.
Yeah, I know. I have no problem with that. I have certain standards as well.
Cody, I want you to know too. He gave me so much shit for that in the past of how I didn't have time, and so now.
Well, but okay, but, no. But here's the thing. You don't have time, and we give you great recommendations, and you take only some of them. You do take some of them. You at least take some of them. So I don't want to be too critical. But there's so many left on the table, and you're like, I'm playing like such and such game. I'm like, fucking why? When I gave you so many better recommendations, things that I really think, not experimental like Returnal, which I'm still disappointed you didn't like, but I get it. Like other really, really, really great ones. How's Last of Us 2 coming though? You're getting there. Somewhat. You played it.
Yep.
At least once.
Yep.
Great.
I got nothing else at the moment. I have played it. I've gotten through a shocking moment, and there you go.
He's not very far in then.
Nope, I'm not at all.
No, he's not.
We can say that now because he's gotten to it, so we're not worried about spoiling.
Have you played it 3 times?
No, he's never played it. What do you mean?
I feel like 3 times is the amount of time for where you got to.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, I'm getting to be in the same boat as Sean though, where it's like if I'm not enjoying my time with something, I just stop playing it. And I think back to the Dot Hack series, which I wasted so much fucking time on back in college. Those games were so bad that even college Chris, who didn't quit anything, stopped playing them in the middle of the 4th game of a 4-game series. That's how bad it was, where I didn't even finish it just to say I finished it. But the fact that I made it that far to begin with, because now I would have gotten about 4 hours in and been like, no, I'm done. Why am I playing this? I'm not enjoying it. There's nothing about it that's keeping me coming back.
You know what? Maybe a better way to say it is like something about the game has to be truly exceptional. So not like.
Not the whole experience.
Yeah, but like it has to be in Hades. Like, yeah, that's a bad example. Because it does a lot really well.
But like Rocket League, you don't like Rocket League, but I do quite a bit because the gameplay is a ton of fun. It has no story. It had but the gameplay loop is exceptional for me. So that one piece is enough to make me want to play that and even go back and play it over a new release if I'm not enjoying my time with it.
Slay the Spire is another great example where there's no really story that you care about, but like the gameplay is amazing. And so like that's enough. Fucking Across the Obelisk, I poured so many hours into that. The story is not good at all, but you just do it for the gameplay loop. Sometimes the story is the exceptional. Something has to be exceptional about it.
Yeah, because like Last of Us 2, I think the gameplay is fine, but you're not like, man, I really can't wait to play more of the gunfighting in Last of Us 2, said no one ever. But they're there because the story is super compelling.
The stealth is better. I will say, the stealth stuff is good.
No doubt.
But there's no customization, which is what I really love. There's no like you go down a character tree. Not really. You can upgrade your guns.
Skills. There's no...
Yeah. You're there for the story.
I find it funny that I was playing that with my wife watching, and I'm kind of like, oh crap, I have to do the gameplay part now. I was kind of waiting for the cutscene. I don't want to just watch the show because I do want to experience the game itself, but it is kind of funny. I'm like, oh, I kind of almost more interested in just the show.
I have tips for you, by the way, to make your gameplay better, and we'll go over that later. I forgot to tell you before. Actually, I think I told you before, but I haven't reminded you, and
it's been a bit.
I don't trust you to remember.
Tears of the Kingdom got in the way.
Tears of the Kingdom is a great example of a game that I finished and I'm like, I think it's gonna be hard pressed to be my game of the year. And like, look, we're talking about huge things. Like, oh no, the game's not your game of the year, and I get that, but it's Zelda.
It's a tough year too.
People are obsessed with this game, and I'm like, I think it was good. I was not in love with it. Huh?
But you want customization? There's your customization.
Yeah, but there was something about the gameplay. We'll get this more when we review it because I think we'll be able to soon.
We still need to do a full review. By the way,
I'm done.
I might not finish that game.
Yeah.
I'll let that linger in the air awkwardly until we get to the full review, and we'll see if I've beaten it by then.
That hurts me.
Because it's not qualifying in the categories that I mentioned for keeping me coming back for more.
That's what I'm saying. So for me, it was a lot of it's the same experience again, and it was a lot of it's not really about play Zelda, unfortunately. So there is customization, but it's not what I mean by when I say customization. I'm meaning like skill trees and where do I put my points into and what. This is just go build a thing. In a way, it's almost uncreative. Even though it's extremely creative because you can build anything, but that's also the solution for everything. The only puzzle that you solve in that game, 90% of it, Ultra Hand. That's it. So I'm like going into these shrines, I'm like, but why? It's going to be the same solution.
Because you basically have a cheat code built in that you can just solve whatever you want.
It's a technical masterpiece. What they've managed to do and the flexibility within that building system is remarkable. But it doesn't mean I'm having a great time playing the game.
If it was a story that lent itself to that type of create, because I think you're just so used to playing other games where you go into the temples and you have to do it a certain way. And you have to train yourself to learn how to play the game. And they're just like, oh well, I suck at doing this, so I'm just going to cheat and build whatever.
We're at this push pull in the industry right now, and I don't know where it's going to land. I think it's going to actually go more into the customization side, but I think there's something to be said for highly curated experience, where they're taking you through and they know the exact puzzle that you're going to solve and it's really well done. They know the story beats when you're going to hit them. That was another problem is like the story. I've seen the same cutscene 15 times because they have to account for, is this your first dungeon or your 10th? Or there's not 10, but I like the old Zelda games where you're like this dungeon is going to have its own unique puzzle system. That's probably going to be exclusive. There's always like moving boxes and shit, but like it's going to be its own thing. And this is not that. So we went too far into this, but
I think of like Ocarina of Time. Like you need like one of them, you need the boots that drop you down, and shit. Like there's a specific thing you needed to solve that thing, and you use that, and then you go about your business, basically.
And Twilight Princess, I've been as critical as anybody of like the Dominion Rod or the Spinner, but as bad as those items were for the game as a whole, those dungeons were great.
Yeah. Exactly.
Everything else about those items sucked because there was literally no use for them outside of those dungeons, but goddamn, I love doing those dungeons themselves.
Yeah. So
the sad part is going to be because of social media, I think, and how much attention this game gets on it because of the crazy shit you can do. I don't know if it's going back to that.
they're
No,
never
no.
going to go back.
This is Zelda now.
It's
And
just-
I'm concerned
yeah.
that this is Final Fantasy now. We'll see. It's too early to tell.
It's
Yeah.
just getting ahead of, but people mod shit all the time. So it's just getting ahead of it and be like,
Mhm.
oh, you want to mod our game? We'll just mod it for you. Here you
Yes.
go.
Yeah.
Problem solved. You can't fuck our game up anymore.
And Nintendo does it so well. I mean, they put it through so much testing that the number of bugs and glitches has been near minimal, which is remarkable in the year
amazing.
2023.
And it's hard for me. Maybe I'm being critical of Ultra Hand because I am bored that I'm in the same Hyrule again. Maybe if it was a new world, I would have no, like, it's hard to say. There was just kind of it was kind of just a combination of a few different things that have made this one of the least enjoyable Zeldas I've ever played, which makes me really sad. It's still a great game. I'm still going to finish it. I'm still having a good time. But, like, it's been months, and I'm way more excited for Baldur's Gate 3 than I ever was for the Zelda game.
I can't believe I'm the first one to finish. It's amazing.
Yeah, you are. And I saved it for the flight, but even with that, you still deserve credit because I didn't play it on the flight because I played something else that I was more interested in.
A 6-hour flight, too,
Wow.
as a reminder. So
Yeah, it was 12. I beat Divinity 2 in one. It's like an 80-hour game. I beat it on one vacation. So that was cool. But
Yeah, but
He goes on vacation to play Switch.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
There you
we've
go.
been playing Baldur's Gate 3. I'm itching to play more. I
Yeah.
have not had that feeling at any point with Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah.
And that
That's-
sucks because I love
Wow.
Zelda and I want to love Tears of the Kingdom and I don't. And I can say all that while recognizing it's still a masterpiece of a game. But
yeah.
we'll
Maisie
get to
was
that
like,
in a full review.
Maisie want to go on like a stupid hike, and I was like, bitch, I want to fucking play Switch. I'm gonna stay in the car. You guys go to the
Switch,
lagoon
bitch.
or whatever. I don't care. You go to the beach. I'm gonna be in the. Can we bring an umbrella? Then I'll play Switch on the beach, and then it'll be fine. But
Wow.
I didn't see anything. I was just on my Switch the whole time in Hawaii.
There was fires there? He didn't even
No,
know.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I was not.
He's just in line where he could donate money playing Switch.
Yeah.
I would play it at night, but I was good. You'd be proud of me. And in the car. Play it in the car. Not on every trip, but eventually it's like, I can only see the same thing so many times.
Right. And that's the end of burning questions.
Oh, we're done. Okay.
I mean,
It's
if you
been
have
an
one
hour.
for me.
No. I mean, I'll think of more next time. But
Yeah.
I like the video game question. What a tricky question because, like, the games of the year, the ones that I've really liked, they're all so different and like for different reasons why I was so drawn to them. Even like Elden Ring, I don't like necessarily the open world in Zelda, but the open world in Elden Ring I couldn't get enough of. So
It's a complicated year for Game of the Year. We're all of a sudden about 4 months away from having to come up with best of the year lists, and we don't even have Starfield yet, which who knows, might be awesome, might be terrible.
who fucking knows?
Who the hell knows? But like, it's a crowded year because like Hogwarts Legacy could have been Game of the Year in a lighter year like 2021, but it's not going to be this year. No way in hell.
No, I think it's gonna be Baldur's Gate 3. I haven't even played it, but from what I've read of why it's good and how I feel about the things that they're saying is good, I'm gonna.
I've played 20 hours of it. It's 100% what you want from a game.
Yeah.
You're gonna love it.
Yeah. So
It's good enough that even though Dave doesn't love D&D, I'm considering recommending it to him, but it's too early to say. But I think it's that good.
Two first.
Yeah, I think it's that good, and it's going to scratch enough itches that even he would like it. But you absolutely will. All right, that's the end of the show. Thank you for tuning in and joining us for Burning Questions. We'll bring it back at some point when people are around and we figure out more burning questions to ask, because I put some thought into these, and hopefully it hit people's wheelhouses. If anybody's dissatisfied with their questions, please let me know.
no, I like my question, but Dave's questions were boring. Mine were no, actually Dave's were good. Cody's were boring. They
I'm
were
boring
all like
person.
about like sports, and I was like, who fucking cares? Mine were about gaming. That was awesome.
Sean, once again, the only thing you can ever take away from the show is that Sean is the arbiter of which is good, and nothing else matters.
but also of what's boring.
Yeah,
Which
Yeah.
is
I mean,
you and
good
me, Dave.
implies
We're
bad.
bored.
Yeah, that's
very
true.
boring.
So yeah, man, gaming. I was thinking like, what am I like? What could I teach a
Chris, shut us
class
off.
on?
Cut it.
He's just
So
going.
I think-
So he went
Button.
back. He's
Click
going.
the button.
I think in my life, like I could teach like a class on like gaming. Like give me a little bit of time, like think of a curriculum, and I could do it. Not like how to make a game, but like what makes a game
I love the
good.
idea of Sean just lecturing everyone, being like, "Hey, everyone, tell me what your favorite game is." He's like, "Fucking terrible,
Wrong,
wrong,
terrible,
Incorrect.
wrong."
Play
I will tell you
Returnal.
why.
I'm gonna teach you why in this semester.
Yeah.
And I can imagine him kicking people out. Like, oh, your favorite game is Tears of the Kingdom? Out.
No,
now.
I wouldn't do that.
Superman 64 flunked.
Yes, that would be a flunk.
That
though.
would be an auto flunk. It should be. That
I'm
wouldn't
trying
be.
to think.
Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I'll think of a great example, but yeah, like you can't have like your opinions are fine up to an extent, And then it's too much. It's crazy.
Your opinions are fine unless I don't agree with them.
Like if someone
And therefore
argues,
you're
for example,
stupid.
if someone was like Hogwarts Legacy, honestly, for me as the game of the year, I'd be like, shut the fuck up.
I want you to put that,
Get out
that
of my
quote
classroom.
on a T-shirt saying your opinions are fine to an extent, and you fucking wear that around.
With an ellipsis, yeah.
That's
It
how
should be fun.
that's how I feel. You know, with it, like certain movies, you'd be like, I don't know, I thought that movie was really good. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You can say I enjoyed watching that, even though I'm aware of its flaws. That's fine. If a movie is bad, you can't be like, no, I think it's good. No, you can't. It doesn't work like that.
We have had this argument before. Oh man,
You can enjoy a
Good
bad
as
movie. And think
subjective.
You
it's
can
funny.
enjoy a bad movie. You cannot say a bad movie is actually a good movie.
No, I can laugh at a bad
Yes.
movie.
Yes,
It's subjective.
that's fine.
not
No,
objective.
no. We won't rehash
No,
it
Dave,
here.
you're wrong. Okay, you're wrong.
Cody hasn't heard it though, so maybe in the future we'll have to run him through the debate. You can enjoy a bad movie. You cannot say a bad movie is a good movie. You
So
can't
you
do
would
that.
you hate the term good bad movie then? It's a
no,
good bad
because it's good at being bad, and like that's fine. But you're not gonna be like, actually, I think the Oscar goes to The Room with Tony Wiseau. It's like, no, you fucking don't. That movie's a mess. It doesn't make any sense. You have scenes that don't even. There's no purpose. One scene, people walk in and leave. They shouldn't even been in the house. And you're gonna say, no, actually, it was funny. Well, that's fine. You can think it's funny. It's not a great movie.
I want to hear you just review that movie for an hour long.
Well, I've done it. Maybe not an hour, but I've definitely done it. Anyways,
It's called episodes like 350 to 400 where he was stuck on this fucking thing.
that's true. We did rehash it a few times because Dave does
A
not think
lot.
that. Dave's like, no, your opinion is all encompassing. So no matter what, you can think whatever you want. And I'm like, no, that's why we get to the Earth is flat. You know,
No, that's
it's a hop,
that is
skip,
not-
and a jump from Earth is flat, and there is no Auschwitz. Like that's.
When the Earth is flat, it's
Wow.
going to be fun watching everything else crumble.
It is. It's gonna be Sean doing the mental gymnastics. I mean, we got Simone Biles over here for doing gymnastics of mental gymnastics of just like what he is making sure he knows is true. And then when the Earth actually is flat, he's gonna be like,
What do you-
no, see,
You're basing an argument on when the Earth is actually flat. Like what?
I know.
So what? Just wait until you meet a Velociraptor. That's going to change your entire. That is not going to happen, Dave.
Look, sit down and have tea and have a good conversation with a Velociraptor. You'll learn. All right.
Put yourself in his shoes, and you'll do that after your conversation.
But see, Doug, this is why I host, so that this can't be allowed to happen. Because that would be an entire episode then.
Yeah, don't worry, guys. I planned an episode.
Just wanted to be episode 590. Sean's yelling. That's the title.
I've
Sean's
done
just gonna
it.
yell
I've
about
gotten
shit.
very close to just that. Dave usually will engage. Chris usually will just let us go at it.
That's true. He's had 589 episodes now
Because-
of practice.
And it's not even like I don't want to engage sometimes. I'm just like, if I do this, this is going to be a 2 hour and 15-minute episode. And I know this won't even work because then the file size is too big to upload. We have to split it into 2 parts, and it's a whole fucking thing.
Yeah, it'll be a saga.
And then TalkShoe thinks it's 2 different episodes, even though it's a 2-parter, so it throws off the count. It's just a mess. It's a mess. So we don't
It's a
do
mess.
that. That's the end of the episode, for real this time. In between shows, you can find us at our website, objectionnetwork.com, or youtube.com/objectionnetwork, where you can find 588 previous episodes of Dave and Sean arguing to the death. We'll see you next time.